Hey everyone, Ben here and welcome back to Broca Sim Racing, where a big part of my mission is to help provide helpful tips and guides for all of you. Very often by showcasing things that I myself have done wrong and have learned from. And in this video the focus is going to be on how you can help reduce the chances of getting punted out of a race, specifically having just made an overtake or when defending a position. We're going to look at two examples where I was taken out of contention in races, but upon looking back at the replay, something everyone should do after these kinds of incidents, it became clear that I could have done things differently to potentially avoid the situation altogether. If you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, please do leave a like and get subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of the race videos and guides we've got coming up. Okay, let's start with a look at this incident from Zandvoort in the Audi TT Cup. We're currently running third, we're putting all kinds of pressure on second place here, and we make a dive down the inside. It's a marginal overtake as we need to make a bit of contact to get through, but at this circuit, that's often the way that it goes. We're into the next corner and then we feel a tag from behind, we're span around and we're off into the gravel, and far from making our way up into second place, we're now tumbling down the order sheet. I'm not showing this incident to see who's to blame for the collision as we see it now from an off-board shot. Much rather I'm interested in thinking through, are there things I could have done, ways I could have positioned my car to avoid this incident happening altogether. You can see there on the off-board camera shot, we take the normal racing line through the corner, and that in the end opens up some space for the driver that we've just overtaken, remember, to try and get that spot straight back. Here it is from his onboard. He's trying to get alongside us. He doesn't manage it. He tags us out of the race essentially, but that's what he's trying to do. You can see it really clearly here if we get a bird's eye view of the incident, and I try and do a little bit of what Ant Davison does on Sky F1 at the Sky Pad. We've slowed it down. I'm the car in the lead, just about to hit the apex here. You can see he's tighter to the corner than I am, and in the end he rotates us and actually is driving us off the circuit at this stage of the accident, and the guy in fourth place scoots past us and up into second. He won't be able to believe his luck. But if we rewind the footage back, then we might be able to identify how we could have avoided that happening altogether. Here we are then at the entry to the left hand corner, and I'm going to just superimpose on a line which I think, if I'd managed to adopt a tighter entry to essentially block the apex for the driver behind, that we would have avoided the risk of him trying to stick one down our inside. As we play the footage forward, you'll see though I'm carrying too much speed in, expecting that I'm safe to take the usual racing line with a later apex that allows him to get onto that red superimposed line, and at that stage a collision is nigh on inevitable, if not very, very likely indeed. So even though at the time I was pretty cross to have been put into the gravel trap in this way, looking back I can see that I was very naive not to take a more proactive defence of that position, given where we both were on track. Let's now take a look at a second, slightly different episode from Suzuka in the GT4. We are in the Audi and we're coming through a very tightly packed section of racetrack. In fact, there's been an accident up ahead which we just managed to avoid despite keeping our foot planted. We're round the outside of a car up ahead, we hit the apex, and then bang, once again we get tagged, we're spun around and we're sent to the very back of the grid, and we're not able to rejoin immediately either to boot. This one is, as I say, slightly different because the circuit was very, very busy, numerous cars all across the circuit, and we're actually 3 wide coming into the very tight chicane here at Suzuka, and I get unsighted by a car on my right hand side, the orange BMW, coming down into the apex of the corner. I didn't again get an alert from my crew chief that there was still a car down there, but given how busy the road had been, I actually think it would have been a much safer course of action to assume that there was a car still down my inside, given we had just come flying through an accident. And the more you see some of these off-board shots, the more sense that makes, really. It was a very brave move, some might say silly, to try and retake the apex directly, given what we'd just driven through. And once again, if we take the bird's eye view of the incident, we slow it down, you can see just as we're coming through the middle of the shot now, still 3 wide with the Lotus and the orange BMW on our inside, we're going to cut to take the usual apex. The BMW is pinched to the inside given what's just gone on circuit, and sure, he might have slowed down to make compensation for that and get through the corner, but the chances were it was always going to result in a coming together. Once again, we'll just rewind it back and let's try and superimpose another line on to how we might have afforded some more space on the inside. Yes, sacrificed a bit of immediate speed, but ultimately rejoined the racing line for the inside of the next corner. When we roll the footage forward, you'll see we come off that safer line in red onto the apex of the corner and unfortunately get tagged out as the other cars that filter through behind us rejoin that racing line in the second part of the corner. It cost us a huge number of positions, and actually just by being a little bit more pragmatic as we came through the corner, then we might actually have held on to all of the gains that we just made. Let's be clear, sometimes in online racing you're going to crash, and sometimes there will be nothing you can do about it. But I think those instances are probably very rare, and most of the time there probably are things we can all do to minimise the risk of either hitting or being hit by another car. At the time of each of these individual incidents, I was pretty annoyed about being taken out of a race, but without even getting into who may have been at fault, whether it was me or the other car involved, I think what's really clear is I could have driven differently to massively reduce the risk of any crash taking place. In both cases, I was pretty naive to take the usual racing line during non-usual periods of the race. In the Zandvoort case, I had just overtaken the driver and should have been closing off any chance of an immediate re-overtake. At Suzuka, I was running 3 wide into a tight chicane after just passing an accident and should have left some margin on the apex. If I had managed those situations differently, then not only would we have hugely reduced the risk of collisions, but we'd have saved ourselves lots of positions and likely gone on to secure much better race finishes. All as a result of racing just a bit more intelligently and carefully. Let me know in the comments what you make of these incidents and of any similar crashes you've been involved with. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, leave a like, get subscribed, and I will see you on the next one.